Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and anybody else who is joining me this week. This is, of course, the Sheff United way, and we are doing our Premier League predictions. Now, I made a joke on the first game of the season that I'm not a great loser, and last week I was annihilated by Jimmy. So he's not been invited to join me this week. Unfortunately, we are back to the old gang, and I have got In Good Nick joining me this week. How are you doing, Nick? You okay?
I'm very, very good, thank you, mate. How the devil are you?
I am good, thank you very much. Of course, I've not actually sacked off Jimmy because he beat me last week. Jimmy is taking a very well-deserved holiday. If you've been following the ramble, he's up all the time, constantly posting, and so he's gone away this week.
Exactly. He's on holiday. He's posting on the ramble, but he's decided to not check in for his day job, which is this.
I think we can forgive him just this once, although I do know he's probably not going to be here next week either. But I have referred to our scores. I will break it down for you. This week, I only got 4 points. Jimmy got 11. He got a perfect banker. He had an absolute stormer of a week. So big shoes to fill, Nick.
Yeah, that's got to hurt, hasn't it, Ollie? Got to hurt. However, mate, I can't lose in this because if I make an absolute bees up, then that means that I've done you a good job. If I do well, then I'll still get the respect. So I can't really lose, can I?
No, and that is an issue, you know. I don't like going up against a man who's got nothing to lose. But of course, we've also got to go through our viewers' score, Nick, and there are some familiar faces up at the top of the leaderboard. We had Toby Buckley, we had JohnEgan.com, and we, of course, had Dan Milne, all of whom got 12 points. A fantastic effort from them. And thank you again to Shazbat Designs on Twitter for going through and collecting those viewers' scores for us.
I'm just going through the comments and there's already a couple of Cameron Archer references. He's not signed yet, guys. Enjoy this first. Stay in the stream. A video will come when he signs. It's already, it's unlisted. It's ready to go. As soon as he signs, that will be on this channel. But enjoy this while we're here.
Indeed, yes. But I think we're all a bit excited, Nick. You know, if Cameron Archer is going to be a Blade, that is something that is very, very exciting. And for anybody who's not a United fan in the chat, I think it should be a little bit worrying because he makes us a lot better. But let's get into the predictions, Nick, and let's see how we are doing. So, game 1, Friday night, we've got Chelsea versus Luton. Now, question for you, Nick. When did Chelsea last play against Luton in a league game?
I thought you were going to say, when was the last time Chelsea scored 3 goals? And then I wouldn't have had a clue. Chelsea versus Luton. Okay, so I reckon, because I heard on the overlap, if you've not seen it, I was on it. On the overlap, I was told that Luton were last in the top division the season before the Premier League started. So I'm going to say then, is it like 1991 or 91-92?
December the 28th, 1991. Luton, on that day, beat Chelsea 2-0. And, you know, as you just referenced there, football hadn't even been invented on the day that Luton beat Chelsea 2-0. A lot has changed since then. You know, one team's had Russian oligarchs. They've had Champions League wins. They've now got American oligarchs. One has had 45 points deducted, being relegated to the National League, and a pretty long journey back to get here. But I actually think this is going to be a really good game. I know that you've gone big on Chelsea, and I can understand why. But I think Luton are really going to bloody some noses from some of the big teams in this division. I think it's a throwback style, but I also think it's going to be a really effective style. But away from home, it's a massive ask to get anything at one of the big teams. So I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I can't, actually. I said that Luton were going to be really, really good this season. I still think they are going to be really good this season, really hard to beat. So I've gone Chelsea 3, Luton 0. That makes loads of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, your predictions always do make sense, Nick. That's been the one thing that's been consistent over the last 12 months, that your predictions make a lot of sense. So, up next, Bournemouth against Tottenham. A difficult one. So you're going to home. Ooh, I've only just seen your score. So go on, walk me through how Bournemouth are going to win this game.
Bournemouth are good at home. Bournemouth are good at home. And Spurs at the moment are struggling to score with conventional strikers. Harry Kane's obviously left. And I still think they're going to struggle to plug that gap. I think they're a good attacking side under the new manager. But at the same time, they had to get kind of midfielders and defenders to jump on board to score the goals. So I don't think they're going to have it all their own way in this game. And I think Bournemouth, like I say, are hard to beat in that tiny little ground.
Yeah, I mean, it's a controversial take, Nick. I'm going to be honest. And I can already see Jimmy from the Ramble going apoplectic in the comments at what you've done here to try and ruin his score. But, Bournemouth do look a decent team. They've had decent XG themselves in both of the games, decent chance creation, but they're so open defensively. Whereas Spurs are the same. You see, Dan's on your side. I just don't see it. Spurs are going to win this game.
Is Daniel Yallop the guy that always used to go for the crazy scores?
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Right, okay, yeah, I've made a mistake then, haven't I?
You've had an
he's going along
absolute
with
shocker.
me.
But a little bit of fun, Nick. 3 of the last 4 times these two teams have played each other, it's finished 3-2. And last year, both games finished 3-2 to the away team. So I've got to go with it. Let's just see this quirk of stats continue. And let's see which one of us is going to get the points. Hopefully, Jimmy's right to be angry. If this is a masterstroke, by the way, Jimmy owes you a huge apology if you get this one spot on.
I think I will. I honestly do. Next up, Ole, Arsenal versus Fulham.
Yeah, I've not been that impressed by Arsenal so far. I know they've won 2 out of 2, but I think they've been fairly lackluster in winning both of their games. I think it was a very even game against Palace, and they won it with a penalty. And then actually, if you look back at the XG, Forest did win the XG in that opening game against Arsenal. So I think both of those are affected a lot by game state. Obviously, Arsenal were 2-0 against Forest. They went down to 10 men against Palace. But I just think it's been an awkward start. And I think this is a tricky game that could make it just a little bit more awkward for them. You clearly disagree.
Yeah, I do. Mitrovic gone. I still think Fulham are going to be a decent team this season. But I think Arsenal have not, like you said, have not really blown teams away this season yet. I think they will in this game. I think they'll score 3 goals. I think they'll let in 1. There you go, Jimmy. It's not all a fix, mate. For some reason, Ollie's saying it's a 1-1, and he's a crazy guy.
I've just not had that much confidence in Arsenal this season, but that's me. I'm bad at predictions. So moving on, up next, Brentford against Crystal Palace. Brentford, I think, have started well. They were unlucky not to beat Spurs. They absolutely battered Fulham last week. The loss of Tone has not been as big as maybe we thought it was going to be. Yeah, I'm just feeling confident about this. Obviously, Palace, a team that we've seen in the flesh when they came to Bramall Lane. I'm getting a feeling they didn't impress you, Nick.
No, not really. I thought we were really, really poor, and I think when we played them, if it had been any other team, I think they'd have probably beaten us quite comfortably. And Palace struggled. I know they scored 3 goals, so that's what they'll probably say. But obviously 2 of them offside. I think they're going to be down there at the end of the season. I think if we'd have played Palace this weekend with probably Cameron Archer in the side, I think it would have been a very, very different scoreline. But yeah, I think this is going to be a comfortable Brentford win. I just feel like Palace are a decent enough defensive side to keep the score down. But yeah, I've not really got much else to add to yours because we've both gone for a very, very similar score.
No, fair one. I think moving on, we come to 2 teams who I actually think are in a lot of trouble. We talked there about Palace, said they were a pretty steady Premier League team. I think Everton and Wolves in a bit of bother this season. I think they're going to be right down there in the relegation battle. They're not very good at chance creation. They're also not very good at chance conversion. They've had really damaging defeats, both shifting 4 goals last week. And so I've gone 0-0, but this is mainly based on them not being able to attack, but they also can't defend. So there's every chance that goals is the order of the day. But myself, I just think this one's going to be really dull, really boring. But if Wolves get 3 points, how you're predicting, I think that'll make a big difference to their chances of survival. Why do you think Wolves will win it?
I think Wolves attacking were brilliant against Manchester United. I think eventually it will all come together. And I think a game like this where it's going to be tight and it's going to be, I think it could be. And that's the reason why I've gone for a 1-0 win. I think someone could sneak this game. I think they're both going to struggle picking up points this season, scoring goals. But I feel like it's one of those games where Wolves can just nick it because they've been good going forward. I think they could score 2 or 3 goals in one game at some point in the future. I think they're going to nick it. I just do. Jimmy just he needs to wind his neck in. Shall we block him from the stream somehow?
No, because I think he's right, and I'm 100% on his side here, Nick. I think you're stitching him up.
What do you mean you think he's right? You put 0-0. You sat right on the fence.
Yes, I did, and I will stand by my little fence sit as well. Next up, Man United against Nottingham Forest. I can only apologise to any viewers in the comments because, oh dear. Oh, God, I need to calm myself down. But yeah, Man U, I don't want to go into everything that's happened over the last week or so, but they're just a bit of a shambles. And I think that defeat to Spurs last week was a really damaging result, especially given their poor performance against Wolves in that opening game. But, we played Forest last week. And even though we were away, even though we've not got a proper team, we did manage to get a little bit of momentum, get on top of Forest in that second half. And to be honest, if we can do that, it gives me a lot of confidence that other teams are going to be able to do it as well. And I think if Man U have a good 30 minutes like we did, that'd probably be enough to win them this game.
I'm not confident in what I've said. I'm really not. I can't put enough stock in Forest getting anything from this game, but I feel like this could be a draw, I really do, because Man United have not been great. They were really, really poor in the first game against Wolves, and Wolves took it to them. And Wolves could have easily won that game, if not got a draw. So I'm not massively confident in this, but if I'd have put a draw for this, Jimmy would have gone absolutely bonkers, wouldn't he? So let's keep him sweet for one. Until I put Brighton are going to lose in a second. Oh, no, I didn't.
I was going to say, surely not. I think Brighton have had an unbelievable start. Every time I talk about them at the end of every season, I'm like, oh, Brighton must have peaked. They'll not do any better than they did last season. And then they just look like they always seem to find a way to get better. They've won the last 3 against West Ham. They won both of the first 2 games 4-1. But for me, I just thought West Ham were really quite impressive in that victory over Chelsea. They didn't have much of the ball, but they still managed to create chances and still managed to really punish it when Chelsea were being a little bit sloppy. And I think this will be a really similar game. I think Brighton are going to control most of the ball, but West Ham are just going to have a sucker punch. I think this is a really good game for them to really try and just hit them on the break. And I think that will probably be Brighton's first drop points of the season. But you disagree?
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, between us both, more people will go with me on this one because Brighton have been so good and they've scored loads and loads of goals recently. But I could easily see it being a draw. Brighton are not going to smash teams by 3 and 4 goals every single week. And this could be the week where they drop points. But for me, I just think Brighton are a lot stronger, especially at home. I think they're going to get the win.
No, yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Up next, we've got Burnley. Now, I find it hard to judge Burnley. Obviously, we've just not seen enough of them so far. They've only played 1 game. That's against Man City. You can't judge anybody on how they do against Man City because Man City are the best team in the world. And a lot of teams that play in the Premier League aren't the best team in the world. But I think this one will give us more of an indication about their level, where they're at for the season. I've gone 2-0 Villa because I think, they've had quite a Jekyll and Hyde start to the season. They lost 5-1 on the opening game, then won 4-0 on the second one. But I've got a lot of confidence that they're a good side. Obviously, they were 3-0 up against Hibernian this evening. I don't know how that is because it's playing right now, but it was 3-0 at half time. And I really think there's goals and there's a lot of quality in that squad. So even though they're losing Cameron Archer, I think this is a pretty good game for Villa. And I think they'll bounce back pretty well with a good win.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. I'm the same. I think Burnley could cause an upset in this game. Is it an upset if Burnley win this game? Not sure they're at home. Yeah, possibly just about. But we know that Villa are really, really good, but they got hammered in the first game of the season against Newcastle. It was Newcastle. But I think Burnley are going to be a tough team to beat. I think they're going to be really, really good this season going forward. And I think they'll get a goal, but I think Villa will just have that Premier League experience over them, to be perfectly honest, Ollie.
No, that makes sense. And I do tend to agree in
I just want to say, Jimmy has said that he wants the banker on this game. Well, you're not getting that one, pal. I'm making the decisions around here. This is my channel.
Oh, I mean, that is gutsy. I myself, I'd have given you your banker, Jimmy, but it's not my vote, sadly. So up next, we come to obviously the biggest game of the weekend, Nick.
Of course. Who else?
Of course. But before we get stuck into this one, this game is, of course, one of Circle's 5 match millions. If you've been with us every week, you know this is a really simple game where you can get involved for just £2 a week, or if you use our code, the SU Way, that's capital letters, the SU Way, you can get your first entrances for free. Now, the games this week are Chelsea against Luton, Bournemouth against Tottenham, Brighton against West Ham, United against Man City, and Newcastle against Liverpool. If you use the link in the description or use the code the SU Way, you can go over and get involved. So, Nick, United against Man City. Is there any hope for United? Obviously, we've had some really good news potentially today with Cameron Archer coming in. Does that change anything for the weekend?
No. Well, yeah, he will be in the squad. I'm not 100% sure if he'll even start, to be honest. He should start. He should come straight in. But you see with players like this that they come in last minute and then they're on the bench and they come off to give you a little bit of something. And I don't think this is going to give us anything, to be honest. I've never seen us host Liverpool or Man City in the last few years and get absolutely hammered at home. I can't see us getting hammered at home. Famous last words, clip it if you want. I can't see us getting hammered. I think we will be in this game for the majority of it. However, Man City are Man City. They'll find a way through. I think they'll get probably a goal early in the second half, and then we'll have to come out a little bit. I think they'll get one towards the end as well. So that's why I've gone for a 2-0 Man City win.
Yeah, it's very similar thinking, to be honest. You know, United are very good at sticking in games and we don't get battered a lot, but this is Man City. And I just think that after the start United have had, there is every chance that City come and they cut through. As I do think United are getting there. I think we've done some really good recruitment. I love the addition of Hamer. I think he's going to make a massive difference to the team. And Archer excites me so much. This is the one bit of the video I'm just so sad that Jimmy's not here, because he would be absolutely losing his mind with excitement at the idea that Cameron Archer is gonna be a blade. But
I've got a quick question for you, Ollie. Who has Jimmy done more videos on, Doze or Cameron Archer?
Surely it's Cameron Archer, because the excitement that we all feel makes it worth it for Cameron Archer. I mean, when he comes in, I think he is going to make a huge difference to United this season. And I just think, yeah, I think it's exciting, but it's not exciting for Sunday. Unfortunately, this one's going to be a little bit of a humbling, but we don't judge anybody on how they do against Manchester City. Said it before, and I'll say it again. The season doesn't land on this one. So, last game of the weekend, Newcastle against Liverpool. And I think this one is going to be a lot of fun. You know, Newcastle were dominant and destructive when they played Villa on that first game. They punished every mistake, stuck 5 past them. But then they really switched. They focused on containing Man City. They were defensively sound and they were really trying to see if they could keep them out. But they were toothless going forward. So I think it's going to be really interesting how they approach this game. I think it's going to really tell us how Newcastle judge themselves, but also how they judge Liverpool. Because if they go at Liverpool in the same way they went at Villa, that sends a message that they actually don't see Liverpool as a team to be feared. Liverpool, for me, with Endo, I think they'll be a little bit better. I think that should help them defensively. But I still think they'll lose this. I think Newcastle are quite an exciting team, and at home, that can make all the difference.
Yeah, they score a lot of goals. They also let a lot of goals in as well. Yeah, I think it could go either way. It could go any of 3 ways, Ollie, couldn't it? Like football generally does. But yeah, I've gone for a 2-1. I didn't think Liverpool had enough to take this. It could be a 3-3 draw. It could be a 7-7 draw. Who knows?
That's why we all watch football. So that is, of course, the last game of the weekend. But Nick, we have got a little bit more to cover. So what is your banker for this week? Playing on behalf of Jimmy, what have you gone for? We know he wanted Villa.
I knew you were going to say that. I can't remember who I went for.
Can you?
Yeah, because we did this the other day.
Really, really well. I, of course, can talk about my banker, and it's no surprise that I am going for Man City. I just think that this is the weekend where it's a good choice for them. Obviously, I don't like going against my own team. I don't like it at all. But realistically, this is the game that I'm probably most confident I know who the winner is going to be. Now that you've got it up, now that you've remembered it, what have you gone for, Nick?
Well, I'm not going to tell you what I went for because I'm going to put this all on Jimmy and I'm going to go for Villa.
Oh,
so
I respect that.
If my banker comes in, Jimmy, shame on you.
I respect it. I think it's the right choice. I think Villa's a good pick. And I'm glad to see that Jimmy has got his way on this one. So, thank you very much for joining us, Nick, as our special guest, a throwback to what we did last season. Thank you very much to everybody else who has joined us as well in the comments. Please do play along. If you put your predictions in the comment section underneath this video, our very, very good friend Shazbat will go through, will pull out your scores, and maybe I'll be saying your name next week because you did the best of the viewers. Right. Thanks very much for joining us, Nick.
No problem.
See you later, guys.
See you later.